You're watching Collecting Elton, and this is another installment of Elton Safari. Alright, welcome back. And as I said in the last video, when I put this stuff on, I don't actually wear it for the video, just it's fun to wear on the intro. Alright. So this Elton Safari installment is called A Fox, a Deuce, and a Don't Shoot. You see what I did there? The one I uploaded earlier was A Box and a Boot. Get it, because I had To Be Continued and the Country Comfort bootleg from '71. This one's called A Fox, a Deuce, and a Don't Shoot. So the title gives away at least two finds, but they're interesting variants. So I wanted to include them in this video. The Deuce, well, you'll know what I mean by that in just a little while. The first two that I want to show you, I got from a street vendor at a weekend street fair not far from here, and I was really surprised to find it. I got a text actually from a friend of mine who knows that I like records. He texted me and he said, hey, there's a guy at this street fair selling vinyl records. You should see if they have any Elton John. And I thought, you know, like hell, they're gonna have anything Elton John that I don't already have. Like they'll have like Greatest Hits Volume 2 and a couple copies of Ice on Fire, you know, Canadian copies. But hey, I took a chance. I went, and boy, am I glad I did, because I got two variants I didn't even know existed, and there are not entries for these on Discogs, at least not that I know of. I could be wrong about that. First one is a copy of the Fox. Okay, vinyl copy. This is a US Geffen copy. I've got quite a few of those already. Some of the earliest American Geffen copies have Europadisk markings in the runouts. It's that oval with EDP. And, oops, sorry. That's because one of the first plants to press American copies of this album back in '81 was Europadisk in New York City. They were, up until early 1981, they really only did mastering. They cut lacquers, they would do plating, but that was it. In very early '81, they began pressing copies of records, including pop rock records, right there at their facility downtown New York City. And I think the Fox was one of the, chronologically, it would work out that Elton John's The Fox was one of the first titles that they did after they began pressing records. So I have a Europadisk copy already. It has the marking, and it was pressed by them. But this is different. This, I think, is a little later because it was pressed using Europadisk metal. It has Tim Young's initials in the dead wax, so he did the lacquers for this copy. The other Europadisk copy I have that didn't have Tim Young's initials in the runout, so go figure. This one is definitely a Tim Young cut, but it has capital pressing ring on both sides, and it has capital plant markings in the runouts. It has a Winchester marking, and it also has a Jacksonville marking. So I don't know at which plant it was actually pressed, because it has markings for both plants. But the coolest thing about this is that it is what is called, among collectors, a secret Quiex pressing. I'm going to do a separate video just on forms of super vinyl and Elton John albums that were at one point pressed on a form of super vinyl, especially North American copies. Quiex was, it kind of began with, in Japan, JVC Japan came up with a very, very high grade of vinyl formulation, audiophile vinyl formulation called JVC Super Vinyl. It was very, very quiet. Mobile Fidelity, which was a North American label, they used to press all their stuff in the 80s offshore in Japan because they had JVC Super Vinyl. It's a long story, and I'm not even sure which parts of it are true, so I'm not going to get into it, but for certain reasons, JVC Super Vinyl could not be manufactured in North America, so it was up to the North American vinyl industry to come up with a comparable and makeable, if that's a word, competitor. And so they came up with Quiex, and I think on the second formulation, Quiex 2 became the more popular one here in North America, and this was pressed on Quiex 2. How do I know? It wasn't as translucent as JVC Super Vinyl, but Quiex is translucent. If you put a very strong light behind the vinyl, you can see the beam of light come through. And it's a very dark amber, but it is translucent, and this is a Quiex pressing. Now, I say secret Quiex, that's not my term. Other collectors use it. Because it's not, this copy would not have been advertised as being pressed on Quiex. I don't know why, but the capital plants, particularly Jacksonville for a little while, no, sorry, Los Angeles for a little while, Jacksonville and Winchester off and on throughout the 80s until they eventually closed. They were sometimes using Quiex vinyl. But it's great to get, you know, secret Quiex pressings whenever you can. Like I said before in an earlier video, I have secret Quiex pressings of 2/0, Jump Up. Now I have one of the Fox. There was one of Breaking Hearts, actually, but it was the promo copies, the Geffen promo copies of Breaking Hearts were done on Quiex, and those were advertised as Quiex, but those were promo copies. The stock copies sold in stores were not Quiex. Promo copies of the Fox are sometimes listed incorrectly on collectors' sites and in catalogs as having been pressed on Quiex. And you got to be careful because, and I have one of those, when you hold a US Geffen promo copy of the Fox up to a strong light, it glows kind of a dark purple. And that's not Quiex, because for it to be Quiex, it has to glow a dark amber, like a golden brown. But the promo copies of the Fox were done on some kind of superior vinyl formulation. I just don't know what it was called, but it was performance vinyl. And those were done by a manufacturer in Phoenix, Arizona called Wakefield Manufacturing, and it was around for maybe 2-3 years, and then it closed, and they did the promo copies of the Fox. And those are cool if you get one. And, you know, is this superior grade of vinyl formulation actually better? Well, it's quieter, and that was the whole point. Now, whether or not you get a copy that has, you know, good mastering, you know, a lacquer cutting engineer, mastering engineer that knew what they were doing, that's a different question. Ideally, you'd get, you know, great vinyl and a great, you know, very well mastered album. The other one that I got at that street fair was another copy of this. This is an MCA copy. It's a Canadian MCA copy. Now, I think I mentioned in an earlier video that I don't have any blue rainbow MCA copies of this that don't sound really, really bad. And they stay away from them. The reason I got this is because I flipped it over and I saw in the text at the bottom that it's a Columbia House copy and it was pressed at CBS Don Mills. And if you've seen my earlier videos, you know how highly I think of them. I was not aware that there was a Canadian Columbia House copy of this out there to be had. And so the minute I saw that, I got it. And sure enough, I have cleaned this, so I've put it in one of these MoFi sleeves. You can see the pressing ring. That is definitely a CBS pressing ring. And looking at the matrix, I'm not sure, the runouts I should say, I think the lacquers were cut by CBS. I know that they were not done by MCA. This is not MCA style scribing here. So these were not, and there's no Gloversville stamp, so I don't think, no. So the lacquer, I believe, was done by CBS, possibly by an independent mastering house somewhere in Toronto, but the plating and the pressing was definitely done by CBS Don Mills. Does it sound amazing? It sounds several categories above an MCA, you know, Canadian copy, blue rainbow copy, which I have, and those were pressed by Sinram using metal work from Gloversville, and they sound bad. This one sounds okay. In fact, it lacks a lot of the intergroove distortion that the other blue rainbow MCA, the stock copies, suffered from, and not just the Canadian ones, the American ones too. This is the best sounding MCA blue rainbow copy I have. Still, as far as I'm concerned, nothing beats a UK original or one of the reissues from a few years ago. Those sound great. But I'm glad I got this anyway, because like I said, it's not a wowie zowie copy, but at least it doesn't sound terrible. Oh, yeah. When I said a Fox, a Deuce, and a Don't Shoot, this is the Deuce. I refer to it in the title as a Deuce because, oh, I've gone out of focus now. What's going on? There we go. I call it a Deuce because it's a double LP. Yeah. I thought long and hard on that, didn't I? Okay, last but not least, Don't Shoot Me, I'm only a piano player. I got this from a really cool record store that's not too far from here. It's a store called Rebel Records, and it's located in Norfolk County, which is a very rural part of southwestern Ontario. And I've always wanted one of these. This is a Canadian MCA Blue Rainbow pressing of Don't Shoot Me. So, you know, it's just a standard single pouch sleeve. It's not a gatefold, no booklet, nothing. I haven't cleaned it yet, so it's still in its original factory inner. And I was really, I found this for a good price at Rebel Records, and I was really enthusiastic about it because I have late 80s Sinram pressed Canadian MCA Blue Rainbow copies of self-titled Elton John as well as Caribou, and much to my surprise, they sounded really good. Really good. I really liked them, so I thought, oh great. Not that I don't have great great sounding vinyl copies of Don't Shoot Me, but I was really curious to see if it would have the same kind of sound. I got home and I played it, and disappointingly, no, it's rather dull, which surprises me because it looks to me like they're still using, MCA Canada was still using the same metal work that they were using back in the mid-70s when the first black rainbow copies of this came out. Anyway, I can see by the pressing ring here, if you can make that out, it's got that sort of double dip with the 1 1/4 inch circumference, or diameter I should say, diameter inner ring. This is an early 80s copy done at Precision. So the catalog number for this was 37113. Those 37,000 series catalog numbers, MCA implemented those around 81, 82. Precision Records closed in 83. So this is probably an 82 or 83 pressing. And this Rebel Records place is really cool. It's actually on the owner's private property. You're driving down this country road, and then boom, if you make a turn, you turn into what in a person's private home. And it appears to me like he took what had formerly been a detached garage, he's turned into a record store, and it's really cool. And you walk in there, and great prices on this stuff. I got Elton's Don't Shoot Me for, I think it was 10 or 15, I think it was 15 Canadian dollars. That's really good. You know, for a vintage, it's not original, but it's a vintage pressing of something. That would have gone for maybe 25, 30 in another store. So I'm happy about that. I got a non-Elton, and judge me. Go ahead, judge me. I don't care. I love her music. I got the Oops, I Didn't Again vinyl reissue. You know, this is, it's quite something, all that they crammed on one LP, and yet the sound quality is still pretty good. You know, I know Britney Spears is not everyone's cup of tea, but I don't care. I enjoy her music, so I got Don't Shoot Me, and I got Britney Spears. So yeah, that concludes this episode. Please like and subscribe. Please like and subscribe. It really helps beginning channels like mine a lot. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned, more videos to come.